Hey guys, welcome to our podcast where it has to be said. My name is Denise.
And I'm Laura.
So we have Laura. For those of you who have been watching consistently, she was here with us. I want to say sometime in May. We recorded, I think, the episode called "Good Moms," and now we're back.
Yes, we're here, and I'm not pregnant anymore.
She's not pregnant now. Laura's a mommy of two.
Under two. Two under two. It's tough. It's not for the weak.
How is that?
Oh my goodness. All I advise you ladies out there, if you want to do back to back, go for it. Just make sure you have your support system, a big support system, because it's tough. It's tough.
What has been the most challenging now with having two under two?
Oh my goodness. Well, my first one is he's 18 months, and now my newborn, well, Daniela's 4 months. So having them so close in age, sometimes Caleb will have his fit, then Daniela starts crying, and it's both of them at the same time. It's like they're racing, who can cry the loudest, and that stresses me out. So I'm like trying to attend to one and the other, but I think that is something that stresses me out when they both starts crying, and I'm like, I want to be there for both, but I kind of have to attend one more first, or whatever the case.
Yeah, because for us, it's kind of like we understand, like, for example, the little one is more dependent of you, right? So it's like, you have to respond to that need first, but then you don't want to make the other one feel like left out.
Oh my goodness. Caleb is like attached to me. He's now, going more towards my husband, but sometimes he just wants to be attached to me to the hip. And I'm like, Bobby, hold on.
It's tough. It's tough when they're like attached to you. Like, you love it, but then at the same time, it's like, oh Lord, what did I do?
It can be a little too much sometimes.
Yes, because Alina's like that with me too. And it's like, I'm like, anyone else can help you in this house. Anyone else. Leave me alone.
No, but hey, at least you have, people helping you out at home. With me, it's a little different. But todo va bien so far. I'm surviving.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'll get there.
So for now, it's a break. No other critters coming around.
Oh, no. I mean, it's in God's hands, pero Diosito, por favor, no me haga eso.
Like,
not right now.
Give me some time.
Please.
Give me some time. So I brought you here because I wanted to talk about we've always kind of had similar stories with regards to paternity. I wanted to talk about fatherhood. We can't define fatherhood because we're not fathers, but kind of like our expectation maybe growing up and maybe how that has trickled down now in our relationships, right? I think that after some time, we look for the things we kind of lack. So I just want to hear a little bit about your story and your relationship as to how things are with your dad and where you are now.
Right. So it was definitely challenging growing up without a father being present. So, obviously you would see or hear other girls growing up like, oh, daddy took me on a date, and oh, daddy did this and daddy did that. And for me, growing up hearing that, seeing that, I'm like, wow, that hurts. To think that he also, just to give you a little bit of a background, he now has a different family or has created a new family. And sometimes I would think like, well, if he's there for them, why couldn't he be there for me? What was so different? Granted, times probably back in the day when he had me with my mom, things probably were different, but he still was having other children. So I'm like, what was so different? Like, why couldn't you stay at least, be present, I guess, only in my life if things didn't work out with you and my mom? Yeah. That's fine. But yeah, a lot of things, actually, some of the things in my relationships that I've had previous to being married, he kind of had fault, if I could say that, with how things ended up or how I would react towards a male.
So when you're saying that, like, what was your expectation then in seeking, when you were looking at a relationship, what were kind of some of the expectations you had then?
Well, obviously things that were missing. So because he wasn't present, Well, honestly, I had to kind of search and figure out what is it exactly a man would have to be with a
Mm-hmm.
woman, how would they would treat her. I had to search that myself, not even having it presented to me.
Right.
So when I did do, like, my search or whatnot, I was like, okay, so whenever I find my person or whoever that I'm dating, he has to be kind, he has to be respectful, and he has to be able to show me love.
Yeah.
Things that, of course, my mother, she gave me all of that growing up, but it's not the same when it comes from a father.
Mm-hmm.
A father is you look up to your dad, and he's the one that's supposed to be the example for your, a partner in the future.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I lack. Not that I lacked, but things that some men that I dated lacked that I thought,
Needed to be there.
because I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
from the get. So I
Let me stop you right there. Hey guys, it's Elvis. I'm in the background.
He's
Let
like
me.
itching.
No, yeah. I wanted to ask a whole bunch of questions, but I just want to know when. I don't really know much of your story with your father. I know Denise's, and I get upset every time I talk about it because I'm a man and I'm a father, and I could say what is it required to be a father and a man. But I don't know necessarily your story, sir. So were you always separated from your father? Did you guys have any relationship? I don't know much.
So basically, I was about 4 years old when he just left.
Okay.
Leaving my mom to having to work like 3 jobs, even. I had to stay with my grandmother, so that my mom could provide for both of us. And not even like leche ni nada de eso,
Yeah.
no milk, nothing at all, no
Was he
communication.
was he out of the country when he left?
Oh no,
Yeah.
he was in the country. We were the ones that left
Okay.
when my mom, she got married to my stepfather at that time, which
Okay.
is my brother's father, and that was different because then I thought that my stepfather could be my father figure, the one that was missing and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out the way that it should have, but
Did you guys ever communicate with each other when after you guys left at 4 year old?
so after some time, when I started becoming a little bit more independent, I was able to go to DR every year by myself. I would go every year. Uh, I would say I started making my trips when I was like 21, por ahí, and
So before that, just to kind of go
nothing.
to the story. So you guys left at 4, and you started going back to DR 21 more or less.
I left DR when I was 6.
Okay.
So
So you were still there 2 years, and there was still no
no,
communication. Wow.
absolutely not. So that told me a lot
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
as to what kind of man he was. Um, so yeah,
So when you would travel back and forth, would you try to reach out to him? Would he try to reach
I
out?
would
How
try to
did how do
reach
you
out.
guys touch bases again?
So basically, around the area where I used to live, everybody knew each other. My family, the majority of my family is still back there.
Mm-hmm.
So he would know. He would hear, oh, look, your daughter's here. One of your daughters, because he has so many kids. And like, the first couple of years, I was a little hesitant in reaching out because there was just so much time missing. I didn't know how it was gonna be. There was a
Yeah.
big gap. The first time that we met up, um, I reached out to him through WhatsApp, and I was like, "Hey, I'm here. If you have time, I would like to see you." It was very awkward.
What made you want to reach out?
Well, I wanted to see if he could, like, I don't know, I guess come up with his reasons as to why he never reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do something or something like that to make him kind of go away? Like,
Yeah.
all of these questions. And there were a lot of things that he said to me, even on like a very important day, which is one of my birthdays, but that was like later on.
Yeah.
I was like 24. He said something that really, really hurt me to the core. I felt like I didn't want nothing to do with him. And I don't even want to repeat it because I'm going to start crying.
Just thought about this.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to hear it. I'm curious. I'm curious. You don't have to cry, but I'm curious to see. I mean, think about it. It was years ago, and you're talking about it now still.
Yeah, that's true. But there's just some things you don't say to your child.
I agree.
You don't say that your child was a mistake.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Especially on their birthday.
Yeah.
You don't say that. You don't say, other things that may hurt and impact your child. You don't say things like that. Only because that stays here.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking like, wow, this is the man that, was with my mom to make me. The man that told my mom to abort me. And,
wow.
You know what I mean? Oh my God, guys.
This wasn't planned. Yeah.
You don't say it.
Yeah.
That's something that will mark your child. That's why you have to be careful with the things you say, how you say it. When he told me that, I immediately went to my mom and I told her. She was pissed.
Upset. Yeah. I could imagine her.
And this was a time that me and my mom were working together at the same place. And she got on the phone. And my mom's a Christian Pentecostal lady.
She was always like that, right?
Yeah. But she will tell you how it is.
She's a tough cookie. Yeah.
She will tell you how it is. So, they went back and forth. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Me limpié la mano, I'm done. I'm done with this man. I'm not going to reach out to him.
The crazy part is you go to him after years when really he should be looking for you to give him a chance to redeem himself. And all he does is bring you down. I mean, that's just horrible.
It's funny because he would always tell me, oh, it's not only, we don't have to look for you, us parents don't have to look for the kids. The kids have to look for the parents. The kids have to reach out for the parents. And I'm like, yeah, but you need to do your part too. If I'm reaching out to you, it's because, clearly I want us to build something.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't have that foundation. We never had that foundation. So, skipping a few times because there's so many things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we know a little bit more of the backbone now because I really didn't know. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah, no.
No, we didn't converse about that specific moment, but we've had like little snippets.
Moving forward, that was the time, around that time, I was in and out of church. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to think about this man. Whatever. So, I've had relationships here and there. They didn't work out for X, Y, and Z, whatever. And I do feel like most of them all have been because of how he hasn't been present. But yeah, when I was going back to the church thing, there was a time where I went and visited a church and like me reconcilié.
Yeah.
I
came back to the path of Christ.
I felt like it was that time, there was a lot of things, there was a lot of voids. I was trying to fill voids con la discoteca, con, mommy, I'm sorry, drinking and all that stuff, partying.
She knew, but she didn't know. She knew, she didn't know. She was praying hard.
Óyeme, esas rodillas estaban negras de estar praying.
Knee deep.
Bro, knee deep in that, on that floor. Those were tough times. I was trying to fill up the void with things that were missing. You know what I mean? And he was a big part of that.
Yeah.
And so I went to a church and they prayed for me, me reconcilié, blah, blah, blah. And, something told me, yo creo que eso fue Dios. Tú sabes,
the Holy Spirit putting a little...
you need to forgive him. And I'm like, who's he talking about? Who are we talking about here? Pero tú sabes, I put two and two together. Yo tenía tanto hatred and stuff like that towards my father that I was like, all right, This is the person I need to forgive.
Forgive.
Because you don't forget those things, but you don't bring it to light
Yeah.
cada vez, because then you're going to dwell in all that. So I was like, oh my Lord, this is hard. I'm like, are you sure? Y pues, you know, I reached out to him. I said, look, I forgive you. It's hard for me to say these words, but I forgive you for everything that you've said, you've done. And I just want to move forward. I don't want to dwell in the past. And if you feel like we can move forward, well then, we'll do that. Let's start a new, turn the page, and we'll start writing a different story than what was previous. Well, he agreed. Todos los días me manda mensajito that he be sending to everybody, because I know. It's like that copy and paste on WhatsApp. Pero it was a start, He still does it now, which, whatever, because one of my aunts be telling me, ay, Juan me mandó esto. I'm like, yeah, he sent it to me too. So that I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started with those, and then, little conversations started. When I started going back to DR again, we would see each other, hang out. Was it awkward? Yeah, it was awkward. But at least we were developing something.
Yeah. I think it's just so much harder having to start in your adulthood a relationship with someone, right? Because it's not, I don't think it equates to your typical father-daughter relationship as much as we may try to do it, right? Like for me, it was opposite, because our relationship stopped at 16. After my sweet 16, it stopped. And it was more like, I have memories of him trying to kind of be involved, but there were so many other external factors that I understand now as an adult why he may have pulled back. Not that it justifies him pulling back, but I can see now, like as an adult, I'm like, oh, him having to almost fight, my mom's boyfriend over a visit. Like I can see how after a while that can get like, I don't want to deal with this, right? Or like us going to court and then hearing from, us telling the law guardian, like, no, we don't want to go live with him. I can see how those things hurt, But we cut off completely at 16, because at that point, my grandma's like, oh, you're bigger now. You got to make an effort. And I think that's a culture thing, like Hispanics, of like, busca tu mamá, tu papá, like that respect idea.
Yeah.
Especially when you're an adult, it's kind of like, you got to give back to them. And it's like, no, it's not. I mean, I didn't ask to be here. Yes, out of respect, we should honor our father and mother, but it shouldn't be the expectation that we have to do everything for you. That's not, it doesn't get, that's not the point of us living, but that's a whole other talk. But so I reached out to him. He came to the Sweet 16 and we tried, but then I think I called him for like Father's Day that same year. He didn't answer. And then next thing you know, the next year I end up being pregnant, and I call him to let him know. And he's like, oh, well, good luck with that. He was like, he didn't want nothing to do with it, because I guess someone else already from the church had told him. And then that was it. I hadn't spoke to him. No, I think I saw him once at a funeral, and Denise was a toddler. And I remember I was like, oh, this is your granddaughter, whatever. And she's like, oh, I don't want to see him again. So even she felt like awkward.
Yeah.
So he's never reached out again. So I always tell Elvis, and he's like, well, I don't get it. Like if he was to reach out to me, I would try to flourish a relationship, but it's not coming out of me anymore. Like I've messaged even the his wife. I don't know if they're even still married, but at the time I would reach out to her to try to even see my siblings. And it was always an excuse. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like I think after a while, your heart knows when it's good, when it's healed. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You're doing your part. You're trying to extend, and reach out to them. But yeah, I know.
It's like, what else are we going to do? But I remember too how you said, like growing up, like even Father's Day at church, I used to dislike Father's Day at church, because they used to have all the fathers there, and they used to do, the nice specials, and the kids.
Every father come up with your daughter with your children, and I'd just be like.
It was so hard for me. Like I would even cry, I think sometimes. Like I did not like celebrating. And then um, after a while, I learned that, God can be your paternal father, your heavenly father. And I think that's when it kind of helped me in the healing process.
Right.
And I think also, and I've said it in episode 2, having Elvis, not because he's here, but seeing him become this great father and man has helped also heal that part of that I didn't have. Like having that, I think the satisfaction to say I gave this to my kids at least. Like at least they're able to have the privilege of growing up with their father.
Right.
Right?
And that's something that I spoke to Joey about.
Yeah? You
Yeah.
see?
I'm like, look, listen, whatever happens, if anything were to happen to us, I need you to still be present for our kids. That's the only thing I ask, because that will mark them for forever if you're not there. So he knows how important it is for the kids to have a father present and things like that. So I don't have to tell him too many times, right, honey?
Do you feel in that? Because I feel I have my own. Like I guess it does have some impact. Do you feel like you sometimes try to chime in too much to how he chooses to be a father? Like, do you feel like
for sure? I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But then again, not to say that is right, that I, I tried to correct him.
Let me clear that up. That is wrong from a father perspective. That is wrong. You do not see any father trying to tell a mother how she supposed to be a mother.
Elvis, but how would I know if I never had that foundation?
You don't have to figure it out. The same way he trusts you as a woman and a mother of his kids, it's the same way you should trust him and love him enough to say he has this as a man.
There's some things that he needs to work on, but it's okay. We're not gonna go there.
No, I think we all have things to work on. I didn't have the most stable home myself, but now I think as a father, and you guys could look at it as a mother, and you guys are like, man, like I just want to make sure that I'm the best I could be for my kids. If there's something that they're lacking as kids, as youth, and when they grow older, I don't want it to be because of what I did. I want it to be because of the choices they made. Therefore, they're going to have different consequences. But I just want to do my part. And again, both of your fathers, I don't know how they do what they do, especially a Christian. How are you not present for your kids, right?
He's saying that because my dad was a believer, or is a believer.
That's still in question.
Don't believe the hype, guys, okay?
Yeah, that's still in
Not
question.
because, no, pero eso es, I just want to make it clear so that everybody knows religion or whatever. Eso no, we're still human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're going to make
I don't want
mistakes.
you guys to think like, because they're Christian, of course they're going to be perfect. They're going to, I want to point that out there because I know that that's another thing that la gente, pero él es cristiano, ¿y por qué?
We should.
Yes,
because
of course.
But we should do better.
Of course we should.
We should.
But at the end of the day, todavía, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
You were a perfect example. You gave him 2 chances in your earlier age and later on, and you were like, listen, let's keep on starting and starting. You were showing the grace that God gave upon yourself. You were just a reflection of what was given to you, right? Because you didn't have your earthly father present, and then you met the real God, the real Father, right? And you were like, listen, I want to extend that grace to my Father. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But understanding that we're probably not going to have them react the way we want, right? Because perfect example, what he did. Instead of saying, oh, yeah, I understand, or let's try, he bashed you. He marked you. Why? Because you got to understand also in your head, just because you are coming with open arms and coming like, with grace, that doesn't necessarily mean that the person receiving the
it's
message.
It's going to be also like, bang,
yeah,
bang.
let's do it. So I think also expectation is very important as well. I mean, that's just me.
Which is fun. But going to what we were saying right before, I was reading something and it says fathers are more likely than mothers to feel judged by their spouse or partner for how they parent their children. So we gotta fall back, Laura. Both of us.
No, I think you don't do that anymore.
Not anymore.
And you know why? Let me be very honest. Because you're too busy. Let's be honest. You're too busy.
That's true.
You know.
But you know what it is? I feel like for us, and I'm glad you're here because he's gonna probably debate this. But I feel that
Get ready.
Dun, dun, dun.
for us moms, it's always almost like an expectation to do everything, to be everything, to know everything, right? I'm gonna give a perfect example. Elvis took Elena last week to the doctor, right? Because she was fighting the flu. She's been going through the last 2 months. And, he asks us, he's like, oh, what's her date of birth? Don't judge me. And I'm like, I'm not going to judge you. Thank you. Because I'm appreciating that he's taking her, you know? I didn't have to I didn't have to leave work early. He was able to do that. But I was like, what if I, as the mother, would have said, I didn't know her date of birth? You know what I'm saying? Like, right?
Let me answer that. I would have found it for you. Let's just say, for example, you didn't answer. I would have found that. I'm like, listen, that's the problem. You guys give too much. So I'm like, listen, she's gonna answer anyway. So let me not even look for it. Let me let her work.
Note to self: don't give too much.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
That's the whole point, because you don't let me do my part. So if you don't let me do my part, okay, so I'm gonna utilize that in my favor. Okay, you want to do
So
this?
we're doing too much, Laura.
Okay, so I'm gonna step back a little
I don't know
bit.
about you, Laura. I don't know. Let me not judge, because I don't want Joy to say anything.
Yeah, Joey no puede decir nada, lo está aquí.
But I think it trickles down. It's hard to not. But it's hard to not expect of our partners for our kids. But we have to remember that what our kids need is not the same thing that we needed. Because they're already at an advantage in the sense is that they have both mom and dad. I mean, whatever that may look like now, right? We're not perfect, but they have that. So that's already one step ahead than what little Denise had, right?
Yeah.
Like, the little Denise was being raised by grandma. So I wasn't even raised with my mom. So those are different factors that require different needs. And I think that's where I've learned that I'm like, all right, Ellie and Alina don't need this type of structure or this type of father because they have already both of us, right? And like, if I don't let Elvis figure it out or give him the benefit of doubt to try to do things, then he won't do it.
100%. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, but it won't be the other way around. Like, I won't push you to do this and that.
Because we already automatically do it.
Yeah, but that's on you. That's a choice you make.
Oh my God.
That's a choice you make. Am I right? Am I wrong? If you're doing it,
Vamos a suponer,
guys are more laid back,
que
period.
los dos, right? You and Joey are home, right? Both in the bed, both laid out, and the baby starts crying. Who's more likely the one that was inclined to have to respond?
Let me tell you something.
there you go, Laura. Come on, Laura. Say it. Come on,
Even though
Laura.
Laura be having different setups. We gotta learn from Laura. I'm just saying.
Go ahead, Laura. Don't interrupt her, please.
No, yo lo que hago es, I look at him.
Oh, wow. How you look at him? How you...
You gonna get that? No, I look at him to see si él se para o no, porque él está en ese freaking teléfono. Yo nada más lo veo. Oh, so you're deaf now. Does the phone make you deaf? I look at him first to see if he's gonna get up or not, or if he's gonna put the phone down. What are we doing? Sometimes he'll do it, but I guess sometimes I have to stare harder. So that he get it. But he's been doing better.
Oh, you see?
I can't say
I used to pretend I was sleeping.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. We were both fall asleep. You know what it is? What works for you is not going to work for us, and what works for us is not going to... That's the problem nowadays. You see a little TikTok and social media and stuff like that. Oh, you see, Bebe? Look at this. Look at this video.
Who called you Bebe?
No, I'm just saying, right? Because isn't that girl that says Bebe all the time that sounds so like weird and stuff like that? But
On a video, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so they be sending these videos and they think it's a reality. Listen, I'm probably tired today. I don't want to get up. Oh, you're probably tired and you don't want to get up, right?
It's all partnership, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's different now with Daniela. We let her cry. Because, girl, she's...
Isn't it crazy how much different you do?
No. That's a different topic of what your first child. You're giving them a multivitamins. You're giving natural juices, and the second one, he'll be all right.
No.
Let's go, McDonald's.
That's for another episode.
Yeah.
Porque estamos aquí por el día entero.
Funny.
But listen, all in all, I'm actually glad to have God in my life. I think if it wasn't because of God, I really wouldn't have reached out to my father. I wouldn't have said, hey, I forgive you.
Wow.
So, and that's how you know God is real. Porque mira, para que uno aguante y que alguien te diga una cosa así, or have done things to you que te marca.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I have a father allá arriba that,
I really attribute everything to God, honestly, too. Like, I even even in the work I do when I meet teenagers, and a lot of it is like, a lot of their behavior stem from hurt and offense. Either mom did it or dad did it. And a lot of times is dad not around in their life or present and horrible to them for whatever reason, or whatever male figure they have. And it's that lack of forgiveness. Like, having Christ in your life helps mold you, and I feel like God has helped keep me sane in a lot of ways, because I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know where I would be without having God's love and grace reach out and us being willing to allow it, because he calls people all the time.
Yeah.
We just don't answer.
I literally would not be here sitting on this couch if I didn't listen to God's calling and listen to his words. But that's another episode.
Right?
That's another episode, because
She's like, no, let's
Lord
not even talk
Jesus.
about God.
Take the wheel. But no, I'm very now, my father, we still talk. He sends me the same messages as everyone else, pero por lo menos
She's like, I'll take
he
it.
adds on, and he's like, how are the kids doing? How are you doing? How's your husband? I've sent pictures of the babies so that he knows who they are. Maybe one day we'll meet, because now he's here, which
That's another story.
that's another story también. Pero I feel like we're good.
Yeah. I like
We're
that.
not like the best, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
my father. But
And that's okay. Like, I basically, the point is that we all go through things. We all have different experiences with our fathers. Even people within the family have different experiences with our fathers, right? Because the dynamic and perspective you have of him may not be the same that a different sibling might have of him, right? And that's okay. That's the way life rolls. But the point is that, that relationship is a foundation to how we grow up, who we begin interacting with, who we seek to have connection with. And thankfully, by the grace of God, God helped us heal enough to find and connect with men who also love God, are willing to grow despite how crazy they drive us, and we want to just, give them tatiquietos and want to input our perspective of fatherhood. At least we're trying and growing. And I think that's the best I think you can take out of our conversation today, is that we go through things, but don't allow that to dwell and define who you are. Like, you can grow from that and have a beautiful life. You deserve a beautiful life. And I think that thinking that growing up maybe as a kid, like, oh, if this person can't love me, who's really gonna love me?
Right.
Or what is love? Or how do I find that? To now being able to say, like, I know the definition of love. The truest form is really God, right? But to be able to see his love through others, I think that's also a blessing in itself.
And that's why I think God gave me a son at first.
You see?
He knew I needed that, and that's what I got.
Someone
and
who's
I'm
gonna love
very
you
thankful,
forever.
even though he's crazy sometimes, but I love him. And I want to give a shout out to, my mom's hubby, who's
Yes.
now Thanksgiving of last year, I gave him the dad title, and that was a lot.
Wow.
He cried, I cried, but shout out to him, because he definitely has shown me también what a dad is, or should be.
My mom's husband too has been very present. He was there for all of Alina's pregnancy and now. Taco. He has been very great and supportive, and it's nice to see, like, to imagine, like, oh, this is what life
Right.
should be like.
I'm
So-
like, man, Mom, why couldn't you meet him earlier?
Yeah, but God knows everything he does. We're happy they have them too, right?
Yes,
So that's
of course.
So Laura, thank you for talking with us. It
Thank
had
you,
to
guys.
be said, and it was said.
Take care, guys.
Bye.